Sangaya Namo Guru Me Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sangaya Namo Guru Me Namo Buddha Namo Dharamaya Namo Ayo Kande la ye guen ye do pa ra ga jo zang bon de jo zhen zhe che ye ya bo guen ye lo zang ta se da je ba ne de je so de ye no se de be de che je lo mo ye be zo ga ta lo de be se no je jo do de bo ye je ke yo jo zo zo xie je je ge ja ve lo je ke za na ve ye yo le xie so ta be be ye la me ze be ko to de be de la cha ze ye wo je ye na zo me do che je do be na ze je cha so wo sha ye je che de ya zo de se na je jo che ya la je ka je to me de ne sa ma ye le ma ye ye me ga je ke ba ra dong ba so ye me de jo nie ne ye ba ta be so so nie me de ma de ro la ze che ye ba da ro de ye je go bo ye ye la je ze ba la ta jo sa ba ta be ye ra ngo che ze la ma ta ba ye na ma ye che ge pa la ke ze de ne che da ra zang de je Sama Ga Bo De So Gere Don Da Ya Jo Shi Wa Da Me De Pimba Ruje Bilgon So Jo Ne Yo So Shi Bi Ji Jo Shi Me Do Zhao Ri Ro Li Ji Ni De Ni Ba De Sa Ji Ji Do Me Dagi chujuru jibe sonam je lola benje sanje robara chedan doje sonam la janju badu dane gyabzo je dagi chujuru jibe sonam lola benje sanje robara chedan doje sonam la janju badu Dagi chujurun jibe sonam je rola benje sanje rola
Sunje tamje to toja lana ma yanda wa zobe sanje ko mo de jine to ba ti chi de tamje she senye kulung shangju se jema sunje se de ne sen ba
I would like to remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should all participate in this Lamrim discourse on the stages of the path leading to enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. To give you the blessing of oral transmission, allow me to read a couple of pages from this Lamrim Chemo, volume number 2 in the English translation of Lamrim Chemo, page 176, followed by explanation.
Shezo tida wa yang chang ji ji jo le xing bei ji da ma de sim dang zhe zhe xie de lo bo ge de bo mo ji yin yong ba dang ji xing bei ji de to ba gai sim jie ba de zhe xie so ba de sim xin de dian zu bei yin de ge sim chang mu mo de no dang bo ne yin do mo jing ba de jie no de ge xian bo yang zhou 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 de bei no Bao ge xiu ba na rang ge cha bo do no di ning de jie jue xie ba xie no ta wen de ba ma de jin de zhang ye de zha wo mi se ni che de se mi wo se ni rang che de se no de du ni xun yu jiang lang lian do bo jian de yo de pe no Dama Geshe de xin jue zha du nang zhang zha du nang bu po ni ni zhuo xin de la la ta ge zha du nang bu la la da ra pa wu de la la da ge cha do no pa de la pa je ju mu la la xin je cha do po ji jia jia ye de ne sen ji ngang de da mi zhe le jo xie so da lu xi guo ne jie ba xie wa ne du ne shuang tang de lian gu no xie zhe wa le xi li bi du ne tang de lang xia jiang ne de la jie le ni la den bo ni xue gu dou su yong nong dong mei xia da den dong na ye su men dao yu xie de da ne sang xue pe yu ni su de nong nian ba tang niu wan jie ba tang pa ru bu yu mang gu pa ra yu ren du zhang ni bie jie ba la me ga wa da yi xie ba ba me jie de da le xiong wei du nge dang de le ba wo ji den ji wei xue la de wo ni ma yi ba da me ni ba da me ba da du nge wa da jie ba da se ba ge wa ga wa na wa xi wei xue na tam ji ba ni xi wa de we gu ni men ji den ji gu ni ji ge den ji wei xue yi le de da ji tang re re de de bi bi du nge nam na so so da ne dang de le ba wo zhen la de ba ne sha ba deng ji wa deng du ba deng wa ye wei wa ni zhen lu xin la te ye tang bo dang wa sun ba zhe su ma bi ji ba nam le wei ni zhen de si me zhong ma na de le xu me deng nge tang du lian jie ji wei tui ma ye ba che wa zhe wo zu xin de ma lo ma de wa lo ba le be ba me xie ba wo缺有三千八啦，电把那边工作啦，缺一人这些吧的，那么缺一人这些吧的，缺那送我的，送我那个现在这些都不的，这些都不的，上对这边上个的好多的小伙都基本为安排那的样，他把这什么的，年轻人一了写不写笔写了。我们的选择不对呢，太大了，做完了的东西就我太大，唐队两包，唐队两包农民说完了，等把你，这他可不这把拉说别说没得把你们说老嘛他们去快车把他们看到我们把你们说老嘛他这点别去把他去。咱们那边属于新小伙的，新了说不那边新的，你别属于新了，然后那边说我觉得你不那么说这个没区别，其实所以不，新了学会了说我说我的没做去，帮我们别买一盘的没人在我那我那边都不叫我都看着我写个说帮别。走的印度都把等都穷不着了，我说把等什么刚过去吧，帮别些人，马西巴的每个月每个的每这个的每个这里边多把的农做的喏，知道了，的东西长得来包，我把这。当对了，我把这装把都把那点把呢，也叫了做把了把留到生这边对吧？到这把到往也写的就那个那到的，我什么也多些我那点把，同学我就一点点来都俺用他们都两把我这一瞧我那点把那个弄些的学我也来了，说我那对说我的看那么多我没别心里。心里当从当结我从的结我了学着，说条件说了说别前别吃几个小伙的这里学会，都给当做两包。就在西街里边就都给看，都给看那种太平说做的没东西。小时候就把这兄弟多别就是们叫一没搞我没我这就过，说不去了，我什么了没说不接，我了没遇见你他们遇你们工作是遇这弄，我说没学会遇你。他们吧也条把他也是这边也那上也是什么那个这边推荐不这边样推荐不对这样我不是西边。 toda paji jogo da dama lenji jebe to somo lando yene lepa jeba da jeba jebe be joda da jebe deba da mende pa de inso chao gobe yine me toje dong jangju da to be ta ba jangju sim chao sim jeba la be la ma ta jebe ne be la da je dende anyu su che so to to ju su dribe yu ne she ji we ju de me da ba lo so ba lo ba chong be she do to ji we de ji we lu ne so ra ya la ju ni la so be be ta be chu la ji ba ra chu la ji ba ra so ba de song be de xin du cha gu so Nyamu mebe yu ni yu de da che da yan ba la nge ba ye ni me de ba me ban je je yang da ba yang de se ba wo du nge tang le me da che le nge sin sin ye zhen ni ne ni chang sa le so ba wa ko ba de che ba ra du che le ba nge sin ji ye ba de ye ba na wo te da ku tu be ze che da cha wa ne su ba ko ya ro wa je du ba na ta ba ru da ma de ba da pa ji ro sa ma xin ni जो बते शिं सेवा लगो वाला से बेजे मायन बे मा तो बंगार सेवा दन जाओ ता गंदे शिंजुम दिख देवा रेशा ता कंजे दे दुनिया ताने से आदि सेवा ता गंदे किस करसा से दि छवा में बा गबा छिबु बे तोले ने बे तादो नि वा चे से ने दिपा de चे से ने से दि तो तोल बे 시부에는 존주셨다 존주대 권에대 말이지 저왕의 신기를 써야 돼 말이 말에 어디로 이제까지 자토고 그랬어 제가 땡이 되어터야 된다라 이놈에 깔리 자토 자고리 제베 깔리 자토에 되게 소소 라글렌도 따기 좀 어디 약부터 했어요 이놈에 가외 권에 당들고 그랬어 그래서 들이 줘서 다 들이 되다 되게 때문에 돈달린 가르쳐는 되게 용할때 소소 셈디 비게 건지 히츠고 땡보지 건 열셔줘 멤버 그거를 쓰고 다
Geshe read from page 176, volume number 2 in the English translation, Labyrinth Chemo, to page 179, where he stopped to give us the blessing of lineage oral transmission. Now he's starting to give explanation on what he read. Just to recapitulate what we did last time, we were talking about the need to develop the kind of patience, what we called the patience of willingly accepting difficulty and challenges as we embark on spiritual development. And so some of the things that we talked about at the time is when we look at how much hardships we have to go through in our everyday life just to make our living, so to speak, right? When we look at the farmers, how much difficulty they have to go through just to make their living. They have to go through the heat and the cold and all the weather, seasonal changes and everything else. And the same thing for the people who engage in business, so many ups and downs. But despite all those challenges and difficulties, somehow, they do it, or we do it, right? But there's no greater meaning from having gone through all such troubles and difficulties. It's, at the end of the day, it's just, making our living, isn't it? That's all there is to it. And in the process, we also end up creating a lot of negative karmas, and we have to pay for our karmas, So what happens in this is that, instead of, so to speak, prioritize what is more meaningful and, what's less, we just end up getting too much attracted to the mundane affairs of the things, as if these are the most important thing in our life. So we get so much attached, obsessively attached to doing those things, and seems like we have so much patience with all the challenges we face in that department, of samsaric existence, But if all that is true, having gone through so much, craziness in life and difficulties, then how much more patience or endurance that we must have as we seek enlightenment as our ultimate goal and the difficulties and challenges we face on the way. Well, that requires much more amount of endurance and patience, because that's a greatly meaningful thing we are trying to achieve, not just to live the mundane affairs of life. So to be able to get through all such ups and downs in life, what's really important is for us to be able to cultivate the stability of the mind so that our mind is firm. It doesn't change, change our heart every now and then, like I have a change of a heart now. Like, no, you just can't change your heart every moment, Just have to have some kind of firmness there, stable mind, and be grounded in that firmness of the mind.
我这些那可是啊，可能我的觉得头部毛公公这边，家里全部有的，可能那边农业他这边电话那的嘞，可能有的是，我的用呀他，的用呀开始过过的是那这个的，长时间需要多的是，那个性别的那么的什么的这小些，多么个我来讲，父母一你们我当时性别其实特别个高度，也我小些什么的，这是我的。 sem de tenso was porque te cheza ya gasho dog shojo so porque sem de be khaba tende so che tenso bo mena inde de yong to ba de se tenso hingbe se de hingbe da ba ba ja ki do wa ko so to ba wa no tine me da ka de ma la ma su sung ya ji me ji be chue shin ge ya gen ji bo na shin si bu ya jo ba de ya gen ji ba de pa te ya chi la ya ba ko no da chi la ya de ji wa no o ti so de sem de porque tenso was ben direct is what da tambo te tenjo tonje de shi an te pa sha sha ma da ko na ya me do so so je direct tok tu sia so shi do de na et ko ya sem di ya je shi ni porque chuk she do to ma ba she da kale do ka si na ko pe ka se gor na ta ka si ko nyo ma da ba de ne pe gom sa da tambo de sem de ti ye da ene ka se gor na ka ngi me sha ga wa 다 들을 때 그다 선이 야 로밍 서디 야 선이 지데 메스 아우 다가 용사만 서디 주나 니 와요 말아 어쨌든 셈텐스 보고 그래서 다 들으셔야 돼
까담베 기시 갈 송베 겐
라
까담베 기시 단 직송송
라
까담베 기시 기 직송송송
알레 들 야겐지 보는 거 사.
아 야겐기 야겐 야겐 무슨 소리
야겐 무슨 증바스 찾고 싶어라. 제가 이제 파도 태야 시라 매번 롱죽도 그거 내가 가자.
So we're in the middle of page 176 in volume number 2, those who have got the text in front of you. And so Geshe refers to that one statement quoted from a sutra called Questions of Household Ugra. Ugra Paripurcha Nama Sutra states, free yourself from a mind that is like a piece of cotton. Okay, so that's a lesson for us, which is, we must not have this kind of a very unstable state of mind. It's just like a piece of cotton that can be blown away by wind, in any directions. It doesn't sit in anywhere. It just gets blown away. So if our mind is like that, then it will be very hard to face the difficulties and challenges, because then we will have change of heart every moment, So what we really need is to cultivate the stability of the mind or the firmness of the mind, So that's very important. And we can do that through cultivation practice, It seems like almost everything is possible through the power of familiarity. Tibetans call gomba. When we familiarize with something, things get easier to do, by the power of familiarization or by the power of intimacy with whatever we are doing. And that we can see that when we are habituated in thinking in a particular way, we are even able to see that which is, unpleasurable as pleasurable, just by the power of the habit. Something which is really not pleasurable and happiness, but somehow, we see it to be the happiness, Why? Because it is the habituation of the perspective, we have cultivated. And so therefore, we can cultivate the same kind of habit, if you will, a habitual pattern facing the difficulties or being tolerant or endure all kinds of sufferings. So as Geshe said that, we really need to stabilize our mind. Our mind should not be like a piece of cotton that get excited by any situational condition, right? If somebody says something, we just get excited, and then somebody says something else, we get depressed, then we're happy. Then we're like, what are we doing, all that jumpy thing, Geshe said, probably in today we call it monkey mind, right? So don't have a monkey mind. But in the text it says, don't be like a piece of cotton. So we have to have some stability of the mind, and the kind of stability that can be exemplified what the great Kandapa Geshe calls, it should be as firm and stable like the neck of the yak, the yak that's fully grown has this tough neck, You cannot stretch the neck into any other way. It just, it's firm. So like that, we need to cultivate that, stability of the mind, firmness of mind through cultivation. So the example Geshe given is that, as we practice, we should pursue our practice until we really develop certain experience into our meditational practice. Not like, we change our focus of the meditation every now and then. Like right now, it's nice to be thinking about a fully endowed human form. I'm happy, I'm a human being. Then, no, now mind is gone to the impermanence. Then mind is gone to something else. We just kind of, skipping our object of meditation right here, there, everywhere we are, and we are nowhere at the same time, So we can't do that, We have to stay put, stay on a focus and sustain our practice, cultivate the stability of the mindset. We have certain experience into that, then move on to, at the next level. No.
我这现在他的压根经过噻，他头上提的这里看见，就不是做不了带兄弟感受这些，你感觉就弄出这这明白，从头下去了，我看到的头下去看见，我就是我的。
Well, that the thick neck of the yak is a Tibetan metaphor. It may not speak to you, but the point we are trying to make is we have to cultivate firmness of the mind, so that we don't get easily affected by the situational factors, right? When something good happens, we just excited like anything. We don't know who we are, right? Then something bad happens, now we're crying like anything, So that's kind of a bad situation, Just be a little firm, have what we call backbone of some sort, there,
这里现在，他空堂代表这边就是那还是到家就没说的学位是，今天到他没有才多，现在。基本上咱这个学问说些，那电影兄弟咱呢，确实你那个没办法那些写的这个差出来的了，咱看看用嘛是说了吧？我这就不是他这没把说头把胸说呢，你几多开始胸那个，说是给肉六个嘛吧？我就是说啊。
As great Tibetan master Gungdang Tempe Dome has said very beautifully, and I don't know whether I can capture the beauty of his expression in my translation, but he said something to the effect that don't be this kind of a practitioner when things are going well in your life, just you have enough to eat, just your stomach is happy, filled with food, the weather is very nice, sunny Californian sunshine, and then you look like a good practitioner, isn't it? And then when something goes wrong, now you just show your true color, right? I mean, you're just crying and depressed like hell. He didn't say hell, but So that's not a good standard, to be a practitioner, right? Things going well looks like a wonderful practitioner, but things go bad, then the true color shows up, and there is no practice, So don't be like that, as Kungdang Rinpoche, tells us. We should be able to sustain our practice under all circumstances, good or bad, doesn't matter. Happy occasion, fine. Bad things happening, fine. Stay the course. Don't be that jumpy and flaky-minded, practitioner.
就是现在但是个人这个也什什么没有是的，现在什么现在这是个你就就是个是吧？现在呀，就别来把唱过去个，那不是这不是这样，这个个把记得头那那样唱过去那样的那就可个多了吧？我对面不是唱过去过啥的感觉，洗头不就过个是，大家做什么就过个是个。但这样说的别，日本国的那边人是不就个呢，就过了么的样。
So we should have the kind of firmness of the mind where we don't change our heart every now and then, but we stay the course, until like somebody maybe shows us that there's a better reason why we should change our perspective or the viewpoint, right? There's a greater purpose to be fulfilled. Then if we see that rationality and the perspective, then we should be willing to change it. Now, if we don't change it, even though that's a much better perspective and good rational, then that's called like hell, like a stubborn conservative. Don't be that. Don't be too stubborn like that. Doesn't matter. The best of the reasons can be, brought in your face, and you still don't want to change it. That's not a good thing. Not that kind of firmness, that kind of stubbornness there. But if there's a good reason, good evidence, be willing to change it. If not, don't get easily affected by what people have got to say.
Tēnā tāngbō nī nyingdō mā shūng pārā sā, jēnā dōngyē chēmbō yāng, chō sā chō tē, pēnā pāwī gāshī yū tī shū bā nā, rāng kī chā tōngā nā, tī nyingdō jī, jē wē sī yū shē bā shē nō sē, tē rā bā shē tā mē pē lōgō shēmbō sī kā, tā pāwī sā ngā sā kī yam, tā pāwī tī kā mā tī, mē dzēng wē lōgō shēmbō tē rā sī kā rā bā, wā tī rā sō sō shē dā tō tsōng rā bā tē rā nī 소소 누를 지 차데 버지 네바 쇼서나 코파시에 마심지 양저데 디 네바 셰바 데 양저파 증야게 베 생규 셰르도 저하셔와 어디나지 어디 신의 야보야 됐어 어디 시거래 다 미쳐도 가르치를 뜻이거라 그래서 당번에 뭐든지 퇴장 네 진짜 명운 세네 rāngchī sēni dōngi shūngu jāng lāmli dōbi jēndi jōrdis pēnā mī gāshī shēn jī chā tōna yā pōwa nī yīwa rōwa shēn tēs o tēs yōr tā kāchē bātā lōgō shēpo tēyē na sōsō nēbā shī sō na ēnē bēkē chā rīpa tōna sōsō lūyō mā shūpa shī na tī kī bē mā dzīngyā khabdī chāyā lā tāntō nīngdō yā jē tō rēs 다 디데 멤버십 다르마 세야 되와 다르마 세디 다 거기 로고 메게도 들어와 로고 메게도 들어와지 다 차들 심지에도 세베 차도 동세야도 다 동세야도 암조 거야도 아 디바지 차도 통날라 엔코 셰니 보아서는 그게 데스고 말이다 예도서 샤고로 와 디저지 지게레스 제가 제가 디지데 동에 다다고 지금 tāndu sēyā chīkdā, chāndu sēyā tu sōki, kōrā sīm kōrā sūyēr mō yī, kōrā yūsīm nūyā kākāyā yō mā rwa. Mēnā kōrā nāmdō shēni, āni o jēndu wō rēs. Shēdā dōngi chibu jīgwa, dītā shī yō mā rēs wā.
So we are at the bottom of page 176, where examples are given to demonstrate or to illustrate the point we just made, which is, we need to develop the courage and the firmness of the mind to withstand any difficulties and hardships we face. Don't be timid. Don't be chicken. In front of the challenges. And the examples given here are of, like, say, we can think of two people, right? Those heroes and the warriors who go to the battlefield. Of course, they do their best not to get wounded and hurt. But should they get wounded, that makes them more courageous, right? I mean, they are not going to run away from the battlefield, but they're like, okay, there you go. I see the blood on my body, and that makes me more courageous, and I'm going to just go and fight to death. And so that's the kind of courage they have. But some people, right, forget about even getting wounded or seeing the blood. If they see a blood somewhere a little bit, they faint. They just freak out. So why that difference? Some people can celebrate the wound and the blood drenching from the body and just march forward. And some people, they just can't even forget about seeing the blood. When they talk about, like, scary animals or something, they just freak out and they just faint right there. Why that difference among us? It has nothing almost to do with the objectivity per se. It has to do with our attitudes towards the thing and our perspective, isn't it? Somebody has cultivated the courageous mind. Somebody has that determination, to face the difficulty. The other one is kind of a very timid and fickle-minded and, silly-billy, mind there. So you're going to run away. So The choice for us is that we should learn to be courageous warrior, that we face more difficulties, that should inspire us more, that should give us more courage to continue with our virtues and practice, not to be escapists and run away or faint and freak out and be chicken,
제가 다 되게 도다도 가리 농도도 가리선 됐어요. 다 가지. 이게 최시에 내가 배경에다 버지 바지를 갖대 싶나 바지 되게 로종 거는 써서 그게 냐면이야 보지야 뭐든지 내가다 마셔 시도 저거 먹을 했어. 나 그거 때문에 로종 야지도 하지 뭐도 그 배경이 내가 로종 넣어야 내봐. 어디 그래서 이거라 내가 빠우때 차던 저는 양조 정약 빠지기도 뭐 어디 찍바신 시골에 스티스로 돈도 드리다.
The bottom line is this, that as practitioners we face difficulties and challenges that should empower us more and make us more courageous and determined to do our practice. Our difficulties and challenges should not turn into obstacles, and become an excuse like, okay, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it, Not that excuse and become an obstacle. Rather, the obstacles are transformed into these favorable conditions, like, what? Bring on, I'm ready, I'm going to march forward. So that's the kind of attitude, we need to cultivate as practitioners. Then, no difficulties and circumstances can how should I say, prevent us from our cultivation practice.
어디 가서 다 저서 랄라타 차토는 다 배지 준주인지래.
No.
가서 랄라타 차토는 빠든 라버지 저유 랄라 현지 차토요. 보지 저저 저와예 된 심지 강된당 담에출 제와 예수보 따로세. 로다 심지 강된스당 소수 심 그게 철저된 거지를 모두 현 체스가요 돈다 비고 고고카이체 주어 말아 소수 심 철저된 효과네 이 동행 셈보여나 당len도 하셔고리 세디제 배 총중지나 동행 믹스에 매나로 디레 차도 따도 세야지 디레 거와sam지 인베 예니 리드라서 샤고 어디 제야지 소수 심 철저 그런 소샤주레서 왔다.
So at the bottom of page 176 over to page 177, we have a passage quoted from Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva's engaging in Bodhisattva deeds, or Chunju, Bodhisattva Char Avatar, which basically states, I quote, "Some seeing their own blood become more intrepid. Some seeing others' blood fall unconscious. This comes from the mind's fortitude or from its timidity," unquote. So as Geshe already explained it, why that difference is not because of so much the difference between big and small difficulty and challenge. It has to do with our own mental attitude and how we manage or approach the difficulty. People who are very courageous, like the warriors, they get wounded, blood drenching from their body, they're even more courageous, they don't give up, right? Others, the suffering is just a little, or even not there, they just see the blood and they just freak out and faint, So it's less to do with the intensity of the suffering and challenge, but more to do with our own state of mind and our attitude and our approach to circumstances.
예수보 따로 희고네 제와셔 다기 자유사지 희고 제와셔지 어디다 동행 중화 당도 내고나 제자와시 저 동행 당도 나냐나 될 제레스 다 동행 당도 내야 히도부터 거 고르 세고다 용사도부터 제레 자 내일 템바시 추고를 때 내시 되사로 봐 추고선 다 세고 시세 순용당 매자당 땡당 나의 소매당 요시드다 내 창주 대 내소 됐나면 되다 그것도 다 되게 다 고야 뒤에 비게다 딱다 마주나 에는 비게 무슨 도야는 매우시 간제지 중난 제보도 시도나 엔데 되고 알아 뭐 됐어 다 용사도 되시 되는 년바 유한 이바당 바로베 마그바 유령된 장니 시발라 메가와 다 이 체바 매징 대다를 중요해서 동해 담는 거. 다 생기 들에도 와. 어디에 변도 또 다 그걸로 내면도 내자 말아 내가 유른 거야 저. 에도 또지롱 가지는 또지 에네 롱가 또지 배 유른시 랑상 마디시 유른 뭐냐. 진짜 탭자로 좀 때마다 마디시 뭐 진짜 건지 거다 이제 그게 카드를 동해도 가지 중선은 어디들 그게 메가 메신 다가란 득버신 그게 인 수요도나 안다 동해 상례에도 걸어
So
어디서
now we are on top of page 177, and the caption reads, a detailed explanation from the viewpoint of the basis. So the more details are provided with regard to cultivating the kind of patience, we call it willingly accepting difficulties. But what are the real situations that we may encounter that requires that kind of a patience, if you will? So the list is provided there. So the number one is called accepting a suffering that is based on objects. And the explanation given there is, we may face difficulties and challenges for not finding even the basic necessities of life, right? Food, clothing, shelter. So that is the kind of difficulty, isn't it? So we should be able to bear and tolerate that, right, as to sustain our, practice. And maybe sometimes we go for alms begging, right? That's what they used to do. And maybe your benefactors take too much time to give you the food, right? That's kind of a challenge there. So, should be able to tolerate that. Or maybe the benefactor provides you some kind of a poor food, right? Not the kind that you really expected. Just be happy with that. You got something to eat, right? So in other words, we need to cultivate the mindset that be contented with, right? Whatever we get in terms of basic necessities, and be able to bear the difficulty that arises from that basis. We call it the object. Well, that doesn't sound elegant in English, but who cares? I don't have a better option here. So, no.
this is that jigdi şöyle de basaydı o de tati mani bada sene tere vah karsa sozu pike tüngero mani paşe o tel pe mejim pik çene ta kondu ci çaladı kare ci goyusam neyna çıktayna ene dikadu mani şende şene de mani na tel semi dungeme tere yongure pe halya mar da ganga pe samdo ji yong mar sazır şey şana ko dungeme şasaro it var ta menye bası sozali ya en mi 생애도 되죠. 근데 메라 따가지. 되게 동해 수나 동해 베겠다. 즉 간에 동해 나사이나다 동해 간에 시나 동해 들을 베겠다. 동해 베게 강갈 요하지 뭐 소지고는 말이다. 동해 용기 따바리 대화 거라 용고 말이야. 동해 산수 동해 용구리 사면도 마타 딜리직시. 다 티가 야우는데 다 동해에 배 누가 뭐 타도 그래서 디가리야 아니 kal changsi se la la so de ji ya lo jung shi ne di kan le ya sama ma bo tong a yong ko wa de ji shi ene jik ba ta si di ta jun da si ne do ti se ba se go da de wa ga si di ga do da ga ni ya ga di da di ne shi lo se wa wa ka se ga di ne di se di ne di ka sa ko kale yo da ene ha mo wa je ene mo de ne cha de ma ji de ji yo ne ene di ne shi di ga di ne se cha wa ji wa ti se 티제 가야 되는지 다 치에 되네 다 치에 되는 치가도 타셔야 와 다 시기 돼서 되네는 배야 말아 그가 시기도 와 그래서 치에 되네 시다 비게다 소지 마시고 간터듯이 이 치와라 비게 차야도 매르시 야가 치야 되마도 수지 돼야 말이 상서도 시에 다 어디야 티제 그래서 치에 주전남 사 직반네사 치学뭐 직반에 직세 계직지라 치와의 군이 직den기 치인라 대탐지 다 레를 때문에 능에는 소소로 어떤 당들은 뭐서 다 디레레야 참만디고 레레레 용하여 봐 어디 다 강간염도 신난디 레레 신나 가지 가다자 레레를 되게 참을 능에 레레 용거야여다 어디 능에 가지 속선 어디 카드 상어던 수어 다 마셔 버려
So the point number 2 called accepting suffering that is based on worldly concerns. That's how it has been translated here. I'm just reading it here. So the explanation given on that is sometimes our difficulty and the challenge comes from not really finding what we are seeking or expected, right? So don't have too much expectations because they can just spoil everything. So learn to be accepting of whatever the situation arises or whatever we find. And other times the challenge comes from, unkind words from other people, right? Because they have tons of things to say about us, and not the good ones, but bad things. So don't, get hurt or don't let yourself be hurt by others' unkind words. Others can belittle you, others can put you down, and all this can presents a challenge here. Challenging also comes from, bad health, right? Getting sick. At such times, we really need to sort of give ourselves the courage. That nobody chooses to get sick, but nobody is free of sickness, right? Others get sick too. It's not like you got selected out of the billions to be sick, right? It's not that. You just happen to get sick, So learn to deal with it or accept that kind of a challenge. And at such time, there are many ways to think it, depending upon our own ability to think and entertain all these different perspectives. For example, when we face difficulties such as sickness, we can think that, well, this must be the result of some bad karma I created. So by experience of this suffering, I'm able to purify that bad karma, so which is the good news, isn't it? Right? Now you see it's changed the perspective. It's a good thing. So we can think that way. Or we can say, you know what? Well, this suffering helps me to become more realized. It helps me to empathize with other suffering. Now I can enhance my bodhicitta mind. So it's not bad. It's good. See? You see the point? That's how we can expand our thinking, to be able to take advantage of the situation and make it more positive and as a favorable conditions. Then other suffering we face is aging, And Geshe was struggling over it because he said aging is very sneaky, isn't it? Maybe that's the good news. If the aging were to happen overnight, we couldn't bear it. It probably could be one of the greatest suffering one can ever have. It's just good. That's very sneaky. It just sneaks on you slowly, slowly, slowly. Then after a year, like, boom. Well, now you're a senior citizen. You get the card. He didn't say that, So, sorry for my footnote. Now, when I get discount that card, I started to realize what a good opportunity to practice, 10% discount. Anyway, didn't say. It sneaks up on you, And so aging, nobody enjoys really, it's hard. And then, of course, at the end of the life, what comes is everybody knows it. We don't seem to think about it, except it's death, Like it or not, there's nothing mystery about it. It's already decided. We're going to die. Just get real with it, And don't freak out and don't be too unhappy about dying, because at the end of the life, what comes? Death. Nothing else will come, So learn to, deal with it. Because everything undergoes momentary disintegration. Everything is changing. Nothing is static. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is lasting, including our life, So this is how we should develop what we call the patience of willingly accepting difficulties that come from, all of the above,
다 줄은 대버세 그래서 차와 중앙에 두고지 니와서 러시아의 줄은 시장을 요다듯이 뒤나가다 동부대 차와다 디레도와 숨바디 누버레도와 근데 차와도 다 중앙에 뒤는 쪽에서 제 뒤수모디 에드베 냐메시베 내가 가지 간다지 맞아 간서 남지 샤드메르미요 내조 좀 해야 되어와 남기대 예고거와 단도 수모디 간다 because the river John in Sosa did the Live Lam Yamslam Nego Sonza, or take Nega John comes in the test to the Kalikane, any bay Lepani Niadabo, Soyan Shiadabo, or did a massive Jenny. Consequent Tata Gonna Nam Gil Yamado Jede, because Nalashi Nego Tani, Koyando Madame Jenny, but I'm good is one that.
No, sir. Point number 3 is called accepting suffering that is based on physical activities. such as standing, sitting, lying down. Well, that could be challenging too, So what Geshe explained is this: as practitioners, right? If we want to follow the practice as best as we could, the advice given to us is that we can sleep in the middle of the night, right? But at dusk and dawn, we should rise up early to do practice, right? Not snoring or sleeping, Or don't go, that's it. So when we do practice, we really should do it, right? Do practice, nothing else. Don't worry about it. But in the middle of the night, it's a sleeping time, You can snore and sleep well. So sometimes because of that, having to sit in our practice too long, that can, give pain somewhere, we know. And so deal with it, learn to deal with it,
What is your Garsa? The two may take the two normally learn pen and never measure see what that this was that. So the best has up seen and some the eve dead the shadow of the Yungro, Samatana, but didn't live a go more. The dead Calica Nelson at Ajan somewhere, I Peja look at the fire shaje, Yaya, or that Kubjaga, if you come about young day, sort of day or trees you go what
So the point here is that as we may be reading Dharma books, we're doing our practice, prayer or meditation, whatever, if you feel like tired, and don't make that an excuse like, okay, I want to take a nap, right? Just don't have an easy cope out plan B here, right? That's not a good thing. But when we are really practicing well for a long time, of course we get tired, that's a reality. And sometimes we might fall asleep in our practice, that we understand it, right? Because you have been practicing well and your body needs some rest and it is kind of giving you a signal you need to nap, right? Not before that, make every excuse like, well, it looks like I should nap now, No. So don't make that lame excuse here. No.
Michi Bao said that day, Julum Demba said this. That yours Zimbala Demba Kunjo the Chujing, Rimdra Shiva, the Lama the Chiji Rimdra Shiva, Chun Suan, Suan, Shana Geshe Tomba. Sang de Katon Shawa Dang. Chiku Ember in the young double Semba, the Ninja Yellow Shiva Simbi, Shila Gombadi, Chun Zimba, do you know? That church she said, and church you see. Young she down to the Forum Jotion, what did it do to do or what did the that Gunjo's church, Rimsha was going to check Tambo, Nanga San, you check the Gunjo Jarjo, check Tambo the Hawara, but this year. That Lama Rimjo Shiva citizen, that be Shaji Shiva, Church Shiva. Churn Swan, the citizen of his did it that. So the Lord Chawas, Lord Swan, the division in Shempsia, the lap in the Wizard. So the Shem Guru. Swan here, Geshe Thomas, so the big Tonda Hills on any big Shedal, Pendrails, Tonda, big any Galil man, big Mongolia, don't tell you what they seem to get with the water. Then the Sang de Cardon Shawa dance, Sang de Senatera, Nyoto was over there. There was Sang she says, or the candle to the Nida cannot tension, the one of the Tati.
No, sir.
And the Chiku Ember name is that the Gonding Maja did it. He needed the Lagon to the that Chiku Ember name Jaguar.
No.
And near the young dog was Sembata, Ninja Yell Shibi, Simbi, Lagon Gomdi, Shun Zimba, do you know, sir? Or did that Kaji Shila going at the Resha? But that didn't devote the child Katamba said that the Kardua, Karsa, Yunzilla Tambas, Yunz Zibal Tamba said, Yunz Zimba said it's on Terra, Yunzi, Yunzis and the Jidan Terra, Zin said the Mathon music, Yata, Yat, Tinglish. 10 years of Yungzi or the Yungzi the Chakazakani. No, so. You know, the Sakakani and Yakani, Yakata, Sigura. So, Jake Yungzi in the Pento Marva. What it is doesn't want to the church, the Gagata, love chair, the Yungzi Sigua. Not that the patient and that the Sansun Jolly Yungzi, I guess, as your mother. What did that be my chick?
So we're on page 177, point number 4. accepting suffering that is based on upholding the teaching. The Tibetan term for upholding the teaching is called Yongzin. And I guess I'll start to explain what it means because that seems to be an important word in the Tibetan literature. Yong means entire, complete, right? Zim means to hold it. So when we uphold the teaching means hold the complete teaching, not like drop a part of the teaching and hold the other half, so to speak. It's just entire teaching. That's called Yongsu Zim, right? Completely upholding the teaching. Anyway, so that's just for those who are learning Tibetan words. So there are 7 things mentioned that we may face a challenge or difficulty upholding the Dharma teaching. Okay, and the point number 1 is when we we go for refuge in the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Right, as a Buddhist practitioners, that's all it begins. Right. Refuge is the entrance into Buddhism. So we go for refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and then whatever difficulty, challenge we face there, we should learn to endure it. And the next one is worshipping and serving Guru. Worshipping, I don't know the English word, but anyway. So this is basically we honor our Guru, and we, if they require our service, we render service to them. So that's what we're talking about. And then that could involve some challenge too, right? There. So we have to be patient. And understanding the teaching. So this is where the Tibetan word is lozin, means sometimes it could include memorizing things, but it also means taking it to heart or the mind. So understanding, developing understanding of the Dharma. So that may present some challenge. So once you know it well, then maybe you want to share it with those who are interested, right? So extensively sharing it with or teaching others. So that may present challenge and needs patience. And then number 5, in English translation here, it is translated as reciting its praises in a loud and clear voice. I don't know where that came from, but according to Geshe-la's explanation, so it was a very different one, which in the Tibetan word, it means when you are chanting your prayers or reciting it, you should do it with an alert mind, not like mixed with a sleep. You're just like a sleeping yoga with a practice kind of thing. You're sleeping, you're practicing chanting. Not that, Just be mindful, alert, and do that in chanting. That's what it is. So I don't know where that point 5 came from, but anyway, my footnote. Number 6 and 7 have to do with difficulty we may face as we seek solitude. Right? If we really become very serious about cultivating some of the deeper Dharma insights, like we want to cultivate shamatha, calm abiding, right? We want to cultivate penetrative special insight, right? Those requires really solitude where we are not disturbed by the hustle and bustle and things. And so that may present some challenge, and we need the patience to willingly accept the solitude challenges there.
어디 제가 가서 대다 좋아하는 동인 중앙대 당부에 봐서 대다서 다다 군조 쇼관이 송대로 어제도 군조 쇼디잖아. 근데 쳐야 yap지 그거를 쳐야 가르쳐 봐야지 고리시야지 삼로동야지 가르쳐 나와지는 딜저 그게 룽아 내 방법 세고고요. 어디 지도 가도 매야시니 가시 쪼시 시야죠 와. This so the Lama Chapter Shiadoina, Lama the Chapter Sugar be tales on the mind. Lama Chapter Shia, Yabo in so said, Town on Shikan, the Goroa. Tippin Lama Kajikani, but the Chapter Sugar boy, Kalika boy. That churnum Suma, that said it, that did it on to take all of Suma, she not dig it. Tonum, never low, never Shiva, did it. Or that's you Kaliora, I told the 16 the scene with the volume like to Kaliora.
No.
Or the chance of Sura. No. That's also the hand, the Pigatashi, that heroes have two heroes here, and hotel and so the Kangin month of Jet. But any Geshe Tombata, say Geshe will be Kaje, she never goes up at the Toya de Sira.
No.
And the song did the carton the shower, don't say the tabating on the carton shed inside.
No.
Song did isn't it. Karsa, be Karsa, this is what a be Nyopto to Moyim, the country, Ripa to Mukon, that country. 어떻게 그랬어?
No.
다시 시라다 디요도 시라다 락동래 신의 락도 된다 신의 저도살에 내 가르사 님부디지 이게 지금 신의 랍자 사장지 열어와 락동라 찍바라와 세대 락동 신의 구디 강에 셈보 열어와 어서 그 강에도 가리 송선나 어디서 강에 당들리니 그게 과거 주 소소 냠lên 내 메다바 가지 슝나기 냠lên 그게 록바도 주 좋아시 뭐도 내 메다바 시담나 다 당되는 거 봐.
So Geshe kind of revisited the point number 4, accepting suffering that is based on upholding the teaching. And some of the new things he added to his explanation is when we cultivate practice of refuge, going for refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, that practice itself can, present difficulty and challenge in the sense that if we want to arrange offerings, right now we have to find the offerings, the right kind of offerings to set the altar. And then not only that, then we have to really set our mind right. So we have to set our motivation, attitude right. So all that requires, right, the activity of mind, body, speech. Right now we are chanting. So this may present some difficulty and challenge, and we should be, willing to accept whatever the challenge is. And then in terms of, serving our guru, we should do that, out of willingness, right? Not like, oh, I have an obligation. Oh my gosh, I have to do this. Well, that's not a good thing. But we willingly accept to honor and serve our guru, and we especially think about this is opportunity for me to create my merit and that. So that is a good thing, isn't it? And sometimes it's not easy to serve the gurus. Some gurus are, strict. These are the Lama Marpas. He didn't say that, but the tough gurus, who don't get easily amused by your service. So there is a good challenge there, how to serve such gurus. And I almost added a footnote about my guru, but don't do that. And then, of course, once, learning about the Dharma is not necessarily easy to do, right? Even when we have to remember some points of practice, that's hard. We remember some, we forget others, So that presents challenge too. So having to memorize things, having to remember the structure of the path, so that's a challenge right there. And then the challenge we face in sharing and teaching others about Dharma. And then the last 2 points are to do with cultivating calm, abiding shamatha and vipassana or special insight. Now this is a process, as we know. To cultivate shamatha, we have to go through certain stages of mental development. And we have to cultivate different types of applications. So it's not easy, right? It's not, easy thing to do. And the same thing with cultivating vipassana or special insight. And so the point here is, as practitioners, we face whatever amount of difficulty, we should not let it lose our practice, or dishearten us. We should rather be able to sustain our practice, and if possible, we should advance, right? Make more willingness to pursue our practice.
그래서 너무 좋아라 때문에 다 뒤지고 비 소소 비 도고저디 너무니 비게 다 메디기야죠 어디서요 다 켜불어라서 수무도 그냥 다 비게 뒤에 내가 껴버려 내는다 이제 사고야 쓰고서와 근데 그 제봤다 카도 녀번 녀슬라와 나그 제바세디잖아 그 제생도 자야 되는 거기다 해다 비게 제로면로 카도 녀바 다 거기 뒤에 이제 비 뒤에 미래 비 소소 두고 저에는 뒤에 카도 찍으면 뭐지 제로들 방법이 뒤에는 믿고 시작하러 와 어디 있어 돌들어 대바티 피시 좀 있어요 다다이서리 인지대 저봤다 제래 다음에 네베 수신 샤와다 그리고 제대 저 탐제레 담니 실잖아 다 그게 지대베디 디체 되는 또고 담좀 더달 비게 샤와도 되게 짜는 마시베시네 근데 그게 추념들이야 거라 더다시노 두 깔레를 잡대서 근데 깔레 용으로 봐 어떻게 된다 다 현어서 봐는 현이 예배 초에서 현어라리비 초화진다 소디다 行了说把实行明白些，行里边弄实些的，行了啥子边错去，但行了啥里边错去是这种，刚刚行这个是呢，个普通做法用啊嘛说，大概就个刚开始吃他脾气说是吧？我记得你刚开始会这个是吧？你把那说去没这边，其实这一边的，现在学过老师我错啊，当时这里的，你把那没说就是这种了，可是说就没学吧是这种了。这是我的别，你们大话乱当的那个，别你把saya kerja masih kok tadi coba sangi sen, itu kado kerja itu dan sandi kado marah kangen cek rawa, tidak kangen dia suka rawa. Tapi macam bang be masih pada si main dewan doa cawa tang, waktu je, dan sangju dengan dia doa, dan dia kerja dia kangen dia cek suka mati. Kita nyam se lebih rembat tu sini tidak mampu cakap rawa, seperti itu rawa. Doa cawa ta, kada hege sopang be jauh dah itu, jauh dah yang tu doa tang, cumbu thora sobat tang, ganggur siapa cawi, cek masih pada mi gazel doa te lomu so diuno sa, hege कार तक से शाबरो मासे हिगे ता नवीन खांजो मासे सेवा इंदु तंग 충부 좋아서 다 되는 소도 배 좀뭐 되잖아 이제 소도 가보니 보시는 거 보지 이게 용용도 사온 거 와다 있어다 진짜 딱거 소주를 사대서 이제 차고 말이야 어디서 그러잖아 gangur wapa ba tidak ta pe na chi ke ja se khat cha se chi sha do tidak tidak khoga dhag mar ba tidak de pang si sa ba do ba te lo so du no se o de da ko se da do de lo sa e de ba ru de kha de se de su nyam le sam ta ma de ji di de pa me khyan de ganga pang di do gu zo e ni ko chul tham bo do sha ga ba de le ka nge ma shi se ba sa.
So the point number 5 is accepting suffering that is based on living by begging, literally translating here, at the bottom of page 177 over to page 178. A number of things are listed here, so Geshe's explanation is, so as practitioners, when we live on alms begging, right? So that's a difficult thing, right? Sometimes you get good food, sometimes you don't get good food, and sometimes you don't get it on time, and all of those issues happen, right? So that requires the patience of willingly accepting that kind of challenge. And then, of course, maybe the clothing we have is kind of made out of the rags, isn't it? Like different pieces, colors. It's not like I want a designer clothing here, right? No. You gave that one up, right? You said, I'm going to wear anything, ragtag thing, and just, sustain my practice. And that is a challenging thing, to be in that situation. And then the number 3 is really a good one. You live by restraining yourself from the conduct of worldly persons and act in a way other than they do. So once we decide to be very serious about our practice and pursue it, we are deviating from the normative expectations of other people, isn't it? Because you don't look normal, right? And that's tough, because what everybody else is doing is different from what you are planning to do. And you are really seems like a very disciplined life, very strict life. Looks like everybody's having fun, and you just chose to be this, strict and uptight. I'm just kidding, not the uptight one. So I mean that's challenging, when you have to live a very deviant kind of a life. Maybe that's the right word, deviant life from the rest of the world. So welcome aboard. And then. The point number 4 is because we chose to practice, right? So we don't cultivate our own food, right? So we are dependent on other people's kindness, so when you live by others' kindness, right? Beggars are no choosers, and you're not going to get everything you wanted or you desire, right? Because they may give whatever they wanted to give, so we have to deal with that, and so that side of the challenge to deal with, and then. And then, of course, if you decide to be celibate practitioners, well, then you can't have any sex, right? So that is a discipline, right? So no sexual intercourse for you. So deal with that side of the challenge there. Now, Geshe said that it doesn't mean that we have to do all of these things, right, to be a practitioner. It means if you choose to do X, Y, Z, then that requires patience of willingly accepting whatever the difficulties may come through. And then the next point is because we choose to isolate ourselves most from the mundane affairs of the life, focus on our practice, so we are lacking social things, isn't it? So you're not going to be at a social gathering and not at the nightclub and barbecues and all that. Well, he didn't say the barbecue. The whole social gathering part. So you look like another kind of a category of people there. And that's tough and challenging. Looks like everybody's having fun and dancing and singing and goofing around, and then you decided not to do that. So you look like a lonely person, right? Just on a lonely island. So that can be presenting challenge, So have to deal with that. So the point Geshe make is that as practitioners, why we choose not to get involved in all the mundane affairs of the things that other people do is because that is very distracting for us, isn't it? We want to stay focused. We want to cut down our distractions. That's why there is no dancing, there's no singing, there is no barbecue, there's no going to the beach. He didn't say that, but all of that, just cut down and just stay and do our practice. And well, now you see how challenging to be a practitioner. There you go. Yeah.
On that in Mumbai Zomba, Zomba Tubal Deba, said that begin Yawashi Negapsal, Gejol Zomba, Lut the same Tuba, Tubala, and the Neve Chili Shungi, Dungi Nam Town Lamba was. Gejol Zomba, Luda, Dungi, that, and over there with Gomja Chishina, and it Bomanaya to Tegina to Gazaroa. That same Tubas did Timare, same Pong Mawasha, the Buzuka, same Mawasha Sigro.
No.
That took was on the Timero. Same the number that Gomja was number, we are same too, and the Gomja Mazam Digiro.
No.
I tell you, Neve Hillis, what did she the Gomja, the Kali, what the Kali in the town language, because it the owned the Madame Shani, and the Cantitelia Carsa, don't land of Shani. What did you say?
No.
Town the Lamba was that. That seems to talk about them, but Tonsha Juki, the Tele Dungin Town the Lamba was that. That seems to talk about them, but seems to talk she looked pretty at the time. She don't have the Juki Sarwa. But I did that seems to talk with the Sinjim, that Marum Badang, she doesn't know the South. She has a show you some to the shower or what?
So we're on page 178, point 6 and 7. The sixth one is called accepting suffering that's based on fatigue due to perseverance. So Geshe's explanation here is when we invest our time and everything we have in our practice, that may involve physical challenges and difficulties. Having to sit in a meditation posture for too long, that can give you the back pain, and that can give you the stress, and so other things. So we have to, learn how to deal with, the fatigue, physical fatigueness there. And then other part is, when we're trying to do meditation, it seems almost like our namdog, the thoughts, they started to emerge more, so to speak. Like that's challenging us more. That's more disturbing internally. So we have to, cut out that mental, hustle bustle inside the mind. So that's a challenging. We have to deal with that. So in other words, when we engage in practice, we may face physical challenges, mental challenges, and we have to be willing to withstand those challenges. And the point number 7 is accepting suffering that's based on acting for the well-being of living beings. So in other words, as practitioners, a part of our commitment or practice is to benefit others, right? And there are many ways to do that. I think in some texts it mentioned about 11 different ways, right, to serve and benefit others. And as Geshe explained, that helping others is not necessarily easy thing to do, right? And there are people who are very unruly and who can be very obnoxious and demanding and, yuggity. So if you don't know how to deal with all these yaggadis, I call them, you might lose your bodhicitta. Well, this is a bad thing, right? Because that's what happens. So we can't lose our bodhicitta, so there is a challenge there.
Because take shower 때문에 홍세도 최고 레서 rab도 왔다. 다도 소소들이 근데 잡아이나 야 홍세도 최고에서 가르쳐 튀게지 무어로 되게 더 깔리지 차고 와. 되게서 와. 다 하나마다 미 힘내시도 잘라. 힘내시도 잘라 베이다 여기 참선도 되게 정보 제야시 힘게도 수도도 깔리자죠 말에. 어디서 와. 되게 깔리시라 용으로 와. 다 되네 jebu shoshe soa la so was the jebu shoshe soa is the data base jebu to yobo yokshen da jebu ge lungju longje shene in the jebu to shaji shoshe soa sigro
no
la so be kimbe ti shawa de dilishu dungen no tang le ba was what that data hingle she in the jebu shoshe soa she what is the dress yabite yati it did it. Kimbe show did be shui in the doing a town the lamb was.
Point number 8, the last point is accepting suffering that's based on current task. So your tasks, whatever you have, it could be very different. For the monastic monks and nuns, their task is, to pursue. Dedicate themselves to the spirituality, but at the same time, they still need certain basic necessities of life. Part of that is they must have a set of robes, right? That's a requirement. And sometimes it's very difficult for the monks and nuns just to have a set of robes or the alms bowl, right? And those are requirements, and so they might face that difficulty. And in the case of lay people, householders, we have to earn our living, right? But we have to be honest in our living, not to become very manipulative and deceptive and all that, but just be honest in what we're earning. That requires a lot of patience and having to deal with hardships. And then those who are serving others, like in ancient time, maybe still today, there are some kings and queens still there. If you are in their service, that is difficult too, serving Her Majesty or His Majesty, that's challenging. So everywhere we need the patience of willingly accepting difficulties. And we will stop there today, and we welcome your questions and observations. And page number 178, volume number 2. All right, how are we doing, our patient brothers and sisters? Yes.
Hi, so thank you very much for the teaching. Concerning these 8 types of sufferings that we should accept, this looks like more at the course level. But say if you look at others suffer and then you suffer, where does this fit into the 8 types of sufferings that we have to accept?
Okay, I must have missed something there. I heard part of what you said. I missed a part of it. Okay, can you be kind and repeat one more time?
Yes. So
these 8 points, right?
Right.
Okay.
But these are more at the course level. It's a very obvious type of
obvious.
sufferings.
Yes.
But say, if, are there additional type of sufferings?
Okay.
If you look at others suffer, other sentient beings suffer, then you suffer.
Okay.
Where does that fit in?
Okay, sure. Yes, now I got it. Quran can show the deal the wage. Tatanda delia tungen tanglangi soba Geshe chidu galata the wa karso ne de mangu chungor wa ke ge de song song a. Diga ta de mangu shibishi ngazo namgyune da ji kaso le la ha ko to rakbar bichro wa ge. 제가 칼라사가 제가 라그마리 안디 강에서 시대고 와
어제
시대 칼라네 중간 당에 서바디 디 멤버게 강에 다 지칼서 그래 데스 차버서 그러와게
어제
딘데 용스기로 와스 페나다 신 동에 나버 통인데 칼마서 베자야 강에 태셔로 와게 디 소르데서 단데 디나 콩도 마서 가발이야 추그래서 콩 제면으로 와게 다 단데 디 대시에 샤바디기 나나 자와 가와차고 있어서 와게
어제
다 차베 동에리야 스다게 동에 당내 채고 있는 와게
어제
어디서 거나
제가 이제 현 동에 통네
마다 차베데 베전데 머리 샤송아 차베데 간세데 갈 미신 동에 나데도나 한디라 마세베게 양 소설 동에 저거 그래서 와게 다 딜에 동에 당내 채고 그러 봐서 딘데게 동네 당내데 셰미 되서 와다디 가와츠 그래서 거게
알레 제 동에 통을 시대다 다때 일을 때는 세야 될 도와다 다기 가서 심전 때는 세야 돼다小学서 동안 때는 심전 때는 세야죠 어디는 저거라
노서
어디는 저거다
노서
다들 뒤동에도 심전 때는 세야 되는 다 심전 통을 시대잖아 이 심전 코로 나는 제는 tel라야 동에 지금 용거리야 심전 코로나서 동에 심전 통내야 tel라야 동에 지금 용거라 그래서는 심전 때문에 세야 되더라
So what Geshe thinks is that many of the things on the list seems to be quite obvious one, but some seems to be more comprehensive. For example, one you just mentioned, like say when we see others suffer, that makes us feel the pain. Where does that fit in? Maybe that fits into where we talk about accepting the suffering, benefiting sentient beings. Where sometimes the suffering is that we want to be good to them, right? But somehow they become very obnoxious one. They just like to get on your nerves, right? So they want to make you angry, whatever. That's challenging. But other times they're not that. Just because they are suffering, we feel the pain, isn't it? And then we have to have that. It's part of working for them. So we have to learn to be accepting of that kind of a suffering. Yes. And anybody behind the glass wall too?
So this is very actually interesting. I mean, in terms of like, what is it? Contemplating on the small sufferings, and then eventually you get accustomed to it, where you start tolerating the bigger ones and the bigger ones. And what what really pops in my head right now is and something that I've been contemplating lately is on as I age, and you're talking about these sicknesses and stuff, and then even developing a very serious illness. It sounds like if I start now on some form of suffering or like getting used to it, I mean, if I end up getting seriously sick, will I able to tolerate that? Is that how it goes? Yeah. I mean, it really reminds me of Milarepa, where he had these, I guess, strong stomach pains or something, but he was able to.
I know he ate too much nettle leaves.
But but anyway, it just Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I got your question. Yeah. We're not going to share it again. 다단다 대송대 대소치 간저 변의 동행 당랭기 수배 냠랭 체배나 당부 동행 충사네로 와게 델리아 아니지 당들레 공바이나 안딜레 동행 체디로 와게 아니 당들레 투그레서 다 송당디로 와게 다디 체배나 거나 단다 홉데 걸디 텐선서 다 변나 다기 송야지 간자다 간저 게로에서 와게 코 갈갈리 치고로 와게 자 나네 다 나와다 게로에게 다 동행서로 와게 이 제이도 간을 변나 단다 러치 단다 마나카도 송어로게 다 테스나 델리아 콤디 체비나 슈마 나자 독자 시부지 슈마이나로 와게 디 카도 델리아 아니 동네 당랭게 서버도 연구하러 봐서 단다 나자 춘주 된다 콤디 첸스부지 와게 슈마 나자 원에 독자 시부된지 주나 다 고라기 데 지지 밀레 좀 셔송하게
다데야 데스가 데스 코노테고라 동네 당랭세야 되지 빼서 나자 슈나 다매마데시 빈된 주도시고 말다 이거 누가 코로나병 용리자 마대 매야시 용식이 돼서 누가 코로나 생기 누가 매버 소고로 와 대모도지 야 누가 가서 누구시 임절 받으세요. 드릴게 좀.
No, so, first, Geshe wants to clarify one thing, that let's say when we get sick, patiently willing to accepting sickness doesn't mean, don't go and see the doctor or don't, take medicine, just bear it. Like, we don't mean that, right? Of course, I mean, you have to take medication, but where the patients are willing to accepting difficulty comes here is like, whatever the sickness is, right, don't make it more than what it is, right? When our mindset is not right, then we kind of blow the whole thing, and there's more pain, isn't it? Whatever the sickness is, of course, there's a pain. We accept it. We go and see the doctor. We take the medication, right, to deal with it. So that's what we mean by willingly accepting. So don't decide not to go to see the doctor when you are sick, right? You have to see the doctor, take medication, but don't make it more than what it is, right? Because our neurotic mind can do that, Yeah.
this 가지 등에 당래 당에서 강가디 고동 좀 가르쳐 this 거라. so that 나다 좀 쉬우나. 늘 나서 나제 등에 차거라.
Right.
나제 등에 뒤에 봐가 땅아 나서 레모스야 좀 빼다 밑에 그래 대 등에 nombe 소거 어때 마소 쓰거 미지. tellia 늘 나서 제다 뭐지 해야 와라.
Right. 딱 이게 딱내 가서 매주 제매에 나서서 라비네로 와게. 딱나 시내지 포함인 차자로 와게. 시내지 포함은 다 제게 요마로 와. 얘는 당연히 제매는 딱고 뒤 동에 년마다 매버쳐 그랬어. 맞아. 그 시에 그 동에 때도 거기 버로 와게. What Geshe still wants to, he wants to make sure that I say this, that when we get sick, right, let's say some kind of a chronic sickness, basically that's, will kill you, right? There's no treatment in the world at the moment, let's say. Well, that's a fact. So where the willingness of accepting this kind of a sickness helps is that you're not going to intensify your pain and sickness. You're not going to add more to what it is, right? It's just, there's no cure, and maybe it's going to kill you. But that's a fact. But don't, go into all this, drama in the head, and make it like, what if, endless thing. That will just exacerbate the situation and make it more painful, right? And that's where the patience helps us to, to stay with the reality, what it is. Don't make it more than what it is, right? Yeah. How are we doing? Good? All right, if not, so I have a prayer request. I might as well do that, talking about the suffering of sickness. Sorry, Rob, you have to remind me, where are you? Oh, so Travis Harding, he's going through surgery, what?
Yeah, he's been coming up some.
Okay.
He's got
So he's going through the treatment, right?
growth on his throat and do
Okay.
biopsy.
Okay, sure. Tanda Koran ngoshan bajre gen tagi temju shu sungwa. Koran mingli ya Travis Harding sa ane Koran ge mikpal ya gen jigda dwa ten ro cha me do ro wa gen. Se ze ane tanda menje chi ga ro wa dika lamlong ye be tum jem chanda ro na sa. So Travis Harding has this growth in his throat and he's going through the treatment. You see, treatment is important, as we know. So let's pray, for him and others to have a successful treatment. Okay. 도제 공로년에 좀 되는데 산장도 병년도 동에서 도선에서 상계 매결라 빈도 야여라 차차로 온베샤제 베샤제 마베샤제 베샤로 저 삼고가 되어서 온베샤제 베샤제 마베샤 온베샤제 베샤제 마베샤 온베샤제 베샤제 마베샤제 베샤로 저 삼고가 되어서 개원디 유도다 멤베게고 로조는 로와 체야마르 대예 살라 그버쇼. So that was Medicine Buddha prayer. Kange lo de dimyen tende nyinda namda rapsebe chinye dungu jishe sese nyeje tuka le kanda sebe zunra mare mindon dungye ye sebe rozo kunla boje yanla tuju yangden sun ruda cheto nyumo nyelo leje chato tu mare minze dungye nyugo chinye chenze rade na dene daje saju yende lunzo yeze duwe go juda juda Jambe yang la de mara baza na Omara baza na de zende ye ye kera veze ye dalu temo memba ras kada tenje shunglo doba Roger Bobe Nawa Zedo Se Roger Gyeltsen Yu Zhong Bega De Gesan Pongbe Chudo Memba Denba Zinla Wando Yicho Be Changye Shogun Jia So Wan De page 21 Obeisance to my Guru and Protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusions and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, weaving down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri, Om Arabhaza Nadi, O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may gain insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate being, your fame pervades all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, O Lord Sang Tenzin Wangda, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài điều phục hai chướng ngại, tự nhật quan lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài Bát Nhã Kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báo, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thủ thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tự từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử. Thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp báo, gươm trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn, trường tử Như Lai tối thắng toàn giác, ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tứ hào Như Lai, đây đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi, con khẩn cầu dưới gót sen bậc đại trí, ban pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh. Pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải, như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đàn xanh nơi trí thù thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Sang Tenzin Wangdak, xin cung kính trì niệm.
I just want to remind you that His Most Eminence Song Rinpoche will be visiting us at the end of next month. And so Friday, September 29th, from 1 to 5, is Yamantaka self-initiation for those who have received the Yamantaka empowerment and completed your standard retreat. And then 7:30 to 9:30 starts the lines of experience teaching. And then from then onward to October 8th, Sunday, Rinpoche will be giving series of teachings, and the last day will be Vaitara a long life initiation. I think all of these things are on the GSTDL website, or maybe if you are on the Yahoo list, you got this information already.